Get ready for the big revival. The real estate revival, that is. Now on 77 WABC, your New York weekend.
Get ready for the big revival.
It's Rand on Real Estate. Look out! With Greg Rand.
Welcome to the Big Real Estate Revival. I'm Greg Rand, your host on 77 WABC and WABCRadio.com. I'm here with Laura Smith, my co-host. How are you?
Good afternoon. That helps.
Well, it's great to have you. We have a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about how to play the housing market. You might have heard the housing market's going through a slump right now. A pretty serious slump. It doesn't mean you can't make a fortune on it if you learn how to play it right. That's what we're going to talk about here. We're going to show you how professional investors increase value in real estate. We're going to share with you some of the secrets of the magicians who get real wealthy doing this stuff right. So we're going to get into that in some detail. We're going to take your calls. Jot the number down, 800-848-WABC. That's 800-848-9222. And here's what I want to hear from you on anything related to real estate, but specifically, do you have a plan that you've been thinking about? Are you somebody who's toyed with the idea, dreamt about it, talked about it with your spouse or significant other? Because you know you have. I mean, the bottom line is I know the world is full of people who have a passion for real estate, who have a deep belief in real estate as an asset class to build wealth because they've seen it all around them. They don't always know how. So this show, my company, Own America, my book, Crash Boom, all designed to give you all the content you could want from any medium that you're interested in to teach you how to do this. So call. Tell me about some crazy idea you have. Tell me about a market that you might be thinking about. We like to go all across the country. Most of our listeners are right here in the New York area, but we have a lot of them that are listening online, and you might be thinking about someplace miles and miles away from where you are right now. I'm going to show you how to analyze markets from a distance using some really cutting-edge tools that are out there on the internet these days, and we'll do that live. So call, tell us about what market you're dreaming about, and we'll sort of slice it and dice it and analyze it for you. But I'm going to start today with my favorite segment and Laura's very favorite segment, which is called Smart People Saying Dopey Things About Real Estate. It's basically a media watchdog segment because, you know, housing's in the news every week, and they consistently get it wrong to the negative. They consistently blow the stats out of proportion, and they create a lot of fear. And so this week we had another chorus of the double dip talk, okay? Double dip, double dip, double dip. And what's amazing about that is that there has never been a recovery in the last 2 years or 3 years. And so how can there be a double dip if there's not a recovery in the middle? But the source of the double dip talk this week is none other than the father of the housing meltdown, my nemesis,
Dr. Shiller.
Dr. Robert Shiller, right, the evil scientist from Yale University. I hope I'm not crossing the line. I'm going to get lawyer letters from that, but yeah, Dr. Shiller, as you may recognize the name, he is the co-founder of the Case-Shiller Index, which has since become the Standard & Poor's Case-Shiller Index, giving it massive credibility out there in the marketplace. And it basically is the index that when it comes out, it spawns a million media stories, and whatever Dr. Shiller spoon feeds out there gets parroted out there by the media. And he's the one who started talking about double dip about 6 months ago, and now is talking about how his prediction from 6 months ago has come true. There's a few things about what he does, how he does it, and most importantly, why he does it that I want to share with you so that you can get some Teflon on you about this. There's so much negativity about the economy out there, but you know, right? You know in your heart that when there's crisis, there's opportunity. And I'm telling you, there's massive opportunity, generational opportunity in the American housing market happening right now and for the next several years. And Dr. Shiller is contributing to the negativity, which I'm going to show you how that actually plays in your favor if you have the ability to fend off his negativity, see it for what it is, and then act based upon logic, not upon emotion. So first I have to set it up. The Case-Shiller Index is based upon the 20 biggest metro markets in the country. And before Dr. Shiller was really famous, as he is today, he made a proclamation back in 2004 that the housing market was a bubble that was going to burst. And that was the beginning of his fame and fortune based upon the negative news on the housing market. What was a very predictable correction, meaning the market had gone hot and heavy for several years for a lot of reasons that we talk about on this show a lot, bad lending practices, a froth of optimism that turned down in about 2006, 2007, and the market began to correct. The market always corrects after it has a run-up, anything near that. But Dr. Shiller said it's a bubble, and so he created an index that gives you the bubble. Now, an index that is based upon the 20 biggest metro areas in the country means that it includes places like Miami, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Detroit, San Diego, LA, Atlanta. And what do those places have in common? They are the hardest hit markets in the housing crisis. They're the ones that took the deepest dive from the peak back in 2007. They also happen to be the ones, with the exception of Detroit, that saw the most meteoric appreciation from 2000 until 2006 or 7. So, of course, what you hear is that the Shiller 20-city index has come down 33% from the peak. They never say that it's still up 70% from the beginning of the cycle 10 years ago. So it went up 130%, came down 30. It's still up. I'm sorry, it went up 100, came down 30. It's still up 70. They don't talk about that, but it shows you from the get-go that there's a bias to the way his index is designed. And then again, last year, he says we have a double-dip housing recession coming. And then now he says the double-dip is happening right now. And his index is what he points to as the evidence to that. So he has a history here of making dire proclamations and then designing his statistics and using the media amplifier to basically claim that he's right. So I'm going to play you some audio from Dr. Shiller from a few years ago before he was really famous, and then from just yesterday, actually. So first let me set the stage, and if we can play the clip, clip number 1, Dr. Shiller, please.
Middle of the Great Depression in the 1930s. And the problem at that time was very clear. Why were we in a depression? It was because people perceived that we were in a depression. It's as simple as that. If everybody thinks that the whole economy is in a bad condition, then it will be in a bad condition because everyone will pull back on all of their expenditure plans. And all of the otherwise entrepreneurs, or many of them, will decide, well, I'd like to be an entrepreneur, but not now. I can't raise any money. Nothing can work now. And so it all becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. So that was Dr. Shiller before he was rich and famous, speaking in a lecture to students about the Great Depression. Now I'm going to play you Dr. Shiller from yesterday. We figure we'll keep this fresh rather than making it last week's debacle, just yesterday. So Dr. Shiller, cut number 2, please.
Implicit in your question is the assumption that they will bottom out.
But you don't see it.
Well, we could. So you asked me, what's the next fad in clothing? I don't know. And it's a fad. That's what these booms are. Maybe we won't have. Maybe the next bubble won't be in housing. So it could happen, but we could also continue to see a slide in home prices for 20 years.
All right. What I neglected to tell you is that the reporter asked him before that last clip, do you see a bottom coming soon? We have a double dip. You called it. Do you see a bottom coming soon? And his response was, well, I don't know. You know, I can't really tell if we have a bottom coming soon. There may never be a bottom again. And he actually said that implicit in your question is the idea that we may ever see a bottom again. And then it referred to the fact that you're asking me when the next bubble's going to be, as if there's only bubbles and bursts. There's no stable economies in between, stable markets in between, which is what we're headed for right now. So it's infuriating to me, number one, that first of all, if you saw the clip that I just played you audio, he's grinning ear to ear. He loves this because he knows that he has demonstrated an ability to drive consumer confidence. He said in the first clip, he understands that when people believe things are going to get worse, those things are going to get worse. That's what created the length of the Great Depression. That's what's created the length in part of the Great Recession. Certainly the housing recession is driven very, very hard by that kind of negativity. And he broke new ground this week by saying things like, we're going to see 10 to 25% more decline in home prices. It'll be 10, it won't be 25. But he said 10 to 25, and he projected that maybe we're going to see 20 years of a slump of the housing market. He drives me crazy. That's not going to happen. That has never happened. What he's predicting is something that has never happened in modern history. But he makes me nervous because he likes to predict things, that he likes to put his back into trying to make those things happen. And the one thing that I'll tell you after we get back from the break is what I think his motivation is, Dr. Shiller, and we're going to go to a break now. But when we get back, you'll hear more about that. We'll take your calls. We'll talk about how to create value in real estate investing. So stay with us.